a little bit on another aspect of the experiment. So this is on the solvation. So if I tell you stability of the DNA, immediately what comes in your mind? Hydrogen bond and base stacking, correct? And those are all mm, non-covalent interaction and not so strong, also little bit weak. But since they are in large in number, the cumulative effect of all these small interaction makes our DNA stable. But now I am invoking another interaction, that is ionic interaction. Ionic interaction is a very strong interaction. It is as strong an interaction as a covalent interaction. You know about salts, correct? Salt crystal, how hard they are.
Yes.
Sodium chloride, potassium chloride, even they form big crystal like copper sulfate. You get solid rock like crystal. But they have a Achilles heel or a very weak point. Can you tell me what is the weak point of ionic interaction?
Sir, their dissociation.
Yes, dissociation by when
Water.
yes. So ionic interaction cannot stay in water.
Yes, sir.
And that is the thing we are going to see today. We are going to discuss about these four-stranded DNA structures, that is G quadruplex and iDNA. In both of them, DNA is stabilized by ionic interaction. And moment I tell you stabilization by ionic interaction, immediately it should come into your mind that that means that here somehow this ionic interaction, what we are discussing about, is protected from water, correct? If they are exposed to water, there is no ionic interaction. So now we have to think about a DNA structure that is majorly stabilized by charge interaction. Real charges, not partial charges or dipole like in case of hydrogen bond. And just now what I told, this kind of charge interaction cannot withstand water. So you have to create a safe place of charge inside the DNA structure. So generally what we do, generally when we think of burying something in a macromolecule, immediately what comes in our mind? Some hydrophobic residue, correct? So hydrophobic residue goes inside, in surface we expose it with hydrophilic residue, and that's how protein folds. Remember, I think you have read about it a little bit out of this sort of things. But here what you are going to see that will change your perception upside down. Here we are hiding ionic interaction from water. And why you are hiding that? Because this ionic interaction has to stabilize the structure. We are using that ionic interactions to stabilize this four-stranded very peculiar DNA structure. So if that interaction gets exposed to water, then the ion will interact with water and the structure will collapse. Okay, so with this introduction, let me start our class today. Let me share my screen. Okay. So this is the structure what I was telling. So as we go in the slides, you will get more and more details. So today's topic is G quadruplex. What is G quadruplex? G quadruplex are higher order DNA and RNA structure formed from G-rich sequences that are built around tetrad of hydrogen bonded guanine base. So there are four strands, that is why it is called a tetrad, and in all four strands we have guanine base. And can you tell me why we took to guanine base? Why not say cytosine or thymine? Why guanine was the candidate here? Based on what you have learned from 3-stranded DNA?
It's a purine, and purines are more bulkier.
Not bulkier. It has a property that is why it can form dash base
Because of
pairing.
its enol
Hooks
enol
base.
enol enol tautomerism.
Enol
That makes it.
tautomerism creates Hooke's-Steen base pairing. Due to
Yes, sir.
Hooke's-Steen base pairing, it has two surfaces. See, one surface here, another surface here. One surface here, another surface there. It has two surfaces by which it can form hydrogen bonding. And here it is forming Hooke's-Steen base pairing. So due to presence of two surfaces, it can easily use both the surface to form one set of base pairing. So if there are 4 guanine here, each of them has two surfaces by which it can either from hydrogen bond donor like here, or a hydrogen bond acceptor. Here in this surface it is hydrogen bond donor, in this surface this is hydrogen bond acceptor, correct? So that is why G quadruplex was considered to be a case where we can get a DNA, 4-stranded DNA. It is very nicely attached on 4 corners by hydrogen bond. And it was discovered very long back, around 50 years back. It was proposed theoretically. And after it was proposed theoretically, people actually got this structure on test tubes. They have found these structures are forming inside test tube, and which they confirmed by NMR spectroscopy techniques. But so what? Anything can from anywhere. But does it matter us? It will matter us only when the structure matters our life. That is, it is relevant to any of our life process. So what scientists have done? They have started making probes. Probes mean chemical compounds that can bind specifically to these sort of structures. So you can take a chemical compound and you can change the interacting group in such a way that if these kind of structures form, they will specifically bind to that structure. So some sort of a chemical compound like that. It will specifically bind. And after that, they have attached it with a fluorescent signal. So that will emit light whenever it has bound. So this they have confirmed with the 4-stranded structure that has formed inside test tube. And then they have injected this compound into cell, living cell. And what they found after injection? So just I go to this slide first and then I'll come back here. So they found that, so this is the compound I was telling. This is one of them, SIR-PYPDS. There are many compounds like that which can be designed to bind this sort of 4-stranded structures. Now this 4-stranded structure is forming from, if it can forming from the DNA inside the cell, and if they form, they will go and specifically bind here only, and you will get a light emission which can be seen from a microscope. And correctly they see that in a cell which is active, that is, it is doing transcription, translation, all those biological process, inside the nucleus of those cells there are some spots which are lighting up. What that it suggests? This suggests that, yeah, tell me.
They are naturally found in the cell, na? Four-stranded DNA.
Yeah, that is why they are testing whether it is formed naturally or not. This is one of the first experiments. So they first confirmed this compound binds to 4-stranded helix in test tube, and then they injected it into cell, and they are observing the nucleus by light microscope. So when they are observing the light microscope, and if the cell is doing all the regular transcription and translation, they saw that there are spots coming up, this kind of spots inside the cell. But if they block transcription by adding a chemical drug that stops transcription or stops translation, they used to see that these kind of these spots, they gets reduced and sometimes get vanished. So they therefore propose these structures have something to do. They do form inside the cell in the DNA, and they must have some role associated with the life process itself. Maybe they are important for initiation of transcription, initiation of DNA replication, something. They are associated with the life process of the cell. Fine. So now this is the structural part in a nutshell. So this is the arrangement. You have in the fourth strand, you have 4 guanine, and I told in the guanine there are 2 surfaces, and both surfaces they use. It is like a square kind of arrangement in that forming the bond. The metal ion lies inside, and the arrangement of guanine base in the G quartet shown together with centrally placed metal ion. So this metal ion is actually at the center of these 4 guanine bases. Hydrogen bonds are dotted line, and position of the group, so I am coming back later, is also indicated. So if this is the plan, this is the cross sectional plan of, so if you are looking from this side, take a cross section, that will look like this. And this is the 3-dimensional structure. So I cannot put my hand on this, otherwise I could have asked you by keeping a hand on this right-handed helix, how this helix looks like. Correct? It is right-handed. If you turn it on your right hands, it is pointing upwards. Correct? Like this. So it is a right-handed kind of arrangement. Now, this is a space field kind of model. So it is all of the atoms are put in like a ball, and you can hold it like this. Now, what I will suggest that you start feeling it and slowly start going inside the helix structure. So this is the structure. I want to ask you to make small cross sections. Like I am giving you this model and I'm giving you a knife, and like khira, you peel it off. Start peeling it off like this, section by section. So you will see something like this is coming. This one. So this is a surface view representation of the quadruplex structure comprising 8 G quartets, and with the, you see that in that structure, in the sides, all the sides, you have the 4 DNA strands. In between, you find that there is a channel. Correct? This is an empty space, a channel, and the metal ion and a series of metal ion is actually trapped inside this channel, and they are trapped for a very specific region. What region is that? Just now what I told, that we are now going to see a DNA structure that is not stabilized by only hydrogen bonding and base stacking interaction, but its stability comes from ionic interactions. And these are those ions. These are those ions. They are interacting with the base strands which surround this central hole where these ions are there, and that is giving stability to the structure. And just now what I told for the for ionic interaction, I think you also reciprocated that. For ionic interaction, we have to keep it outside the reach of
Water.
Water. And since it is sealed, these ions are sealed inside the cylindrical groove inside, so they are secluded from outside water. Okay, fine. So now we move on with more details of this structure. So general feature, quadruplex can be formed by 1, 2, or 4 separate DNA strands or RNA strand, and can display wide variety of topologies. You can use one DNA strand and can fold it like this in 4. You can take 2 of them, or you can take 4 of them. Either way possible. Just thus it is needed to have 4 strands. That can come from a single DNA strand, that can come from 2 DNA strand, and that can come from 4 DNA strand. And ultimately, what is required is 4 DNA single strands that have guanine residues in stretches. If that is fulfilled, the number of strands from where those single strands are coming is not a big issue. It can be, that is why a single double-stranded DNA can form a quadruplex. 2 double-stranded DNAs can help forming a DNA quadruplex. Even 4 double-stranded DNA, each of them giving one single strand, can form a DNA quadruplex. So it can be defined in general terms as a structure formed by a core of at least 2 stacked GNA tetrads. What it is telling that when a structure will be called a G quadruplex. So for a structure to be called a G quadruplex, there should be at least 2 planes like that, where there are G tetrads, G, 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 G. At least 2 such G tetrad must be there for a structure to be called a G quadruplex. Okay, so at least 2 stacked G tetrad, and they should be stacked also. They should be one after the other. One here, another one is 100 base pair downstream. That is not allowed. So 2 stacked tetrad, if it is there, then we call this structure as DNA quadruplex. And they are held together by loops arising from intervening mixed sequence nucleotide that are not usually involved in tetrad themselves. So they should be connected by loops like this by other nucleotide sequences which are not part of these G tetrad. So 2 sets of GGGG, and in between there should be connecting connecting sequences which is not a member of this G tetrad. Correct? So two parallel planes of 4 Gs stacking together, and then there should be connecting wires between these Gs. These are called loops. So if these 2 conditions are met, we call this structure as G quadruplex. So any question? Okay, so I just show you some more photograph, it will be more clear. Fine. So unimolecular, that is intramolecular G quadruplex forming sequence can be of this order: GMXN, GMXO, GMXP, GM. So this M is the number of residues. So I can easily deduce it as a sequence. Suppose it can be G, say A, T, T, then maybe G, say A, G, T. So up to this it is over, then maybe again G, T, T, then again GG. So you see this is GM, G to the power M, where M equal to 2, and intervening there are some sequences. So these kind of sequences are frequently seen forming as G tetrad, but there are certain rules. That is, where M is the number of G residues in each short G tract, which are usually directly involved in the G tetrad interaction. Now, this Xn, Xo, and Xp can be any combination of residues, including G. So, in these interfering sequences can be anything, and it can be G also, and they generally form those loop structure that attaches these G tetrads. I just now I told about the loops. So these loops comes from these intervening sequences. Okay. This notion is also implies that the G tetrad can be of unequal length, and if one of the short G tract is longer than the others, some of the G residues will be located in the loop region. What it is telling that, suppose there are some G residues over here, which is forming G tetrad, suppose say GG, and say some residues over here, and this I'm talking here intramolecular G tetrad, that is two different strands are coming and forming this tetrad. It is not the intermolecular one, correct? Okay, so maybe in after somewhere there are some more G's are there, G. So in that case, what is going to happen? So these two might be forming the G tetrad, and this G, which is excess, it goes to the loop structure. So this G stretches may not need to be uniform. So if there are more G's than what is needed to form this tetrad, that G will go to form the loop regions. Okay? Did you get my point?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The assumption is that all G tracts within the quadruplet structure is identical. Is true for vertebrates sequence, but not true in case of not always true in case of non-telomeric genomic sequences or even all telomeric sequences of the lower eukaryote. These G stretches are generally very well conserved. That is, if it is 2, it is always 2. If it is 3, it is always 3 at a stretch, which is found in case of our telomeric DNA, where the G quadruplex form. But if you go to lower eukaryotes or non-telomeric sequences, it may not hold true like that. This G stretches, number of G in this G stretch, that may differ. There is an example over here. So in case of human DNA, the telomere, human, mouse, xenopus, etc., the sequence go like that: TTA, GGG, again TTA, so it repeats like this. So here this M, whatever I was telling to you, it is always fixed and the number is 3. But you see lower eukaryote like Candida glabrata, here you see there is a 4 over here, 4 stretches of G's over here, but you see here again 3. So it is not conserved. But no problem, it cannot be, it may be conserved, it may not be conserved also. So if there is some excess G which is not forming the G quadrat, what happens to that G? It goes to which region?
Loop forming.
Yes, it is used in the loop formation. Fine. Next. Now, what I told that the G quadruplet can be of two types. One is the intramolecular G quadruplex, meaning the same DNA strand is forming the quadruplex, or intermolecular G quadruplex. In both of the cases, the strands may be parallel like this, and these are the loops. So these are the strands which is forming the G quadruplex, and this strand what is connecting them is the loops. So these strands which are forming the G quadruplex, they can be parallel, they can be anti-parallel, again this is then the loop, or they can be hybrid. Hybrid means 2 strands anti-parallel and 2 strands parallel. Now these 2 strands are parallel, and these two are antiparallel. Many things. So all these possibilities are possible. And if it is intermolecular, that is more than one strand available, that is dimolecular or tetramolecular, it can be antiparallel or parallel. Here you are given an example of dimolecular dimolecular antiparallel and one tetramolecular parallel DNA quadruplex. Okay, fine. Now, so what I told that in DNA quadruplex, this quadruplex sheets should be stacked against each other, and they will be connected by the loop regions. Correct. So these are examples of those various stacks arrangement. So the loops also have different types of name depending on how these stacked how this strands which are forming the G quadruplex are attached. So one type of loop is called the diagonal loop, loops like this. One is called a lateral loop. Lateral loop is connecting two ends one another. Diagonal means that connects two ends by the diagonal of the G quadruplex plane. And the third one is a little bit complex. It is called a propeller loop. It joins the top end of one strand. It turns away and get attached to the bottom of the other strand. So these type of loop arrangements are seen in case of G quadruplex. Fine. So immediately you may ask that, so far so good for the arrangement of the bases and how the strands are oriented and how they are, after they are oriented, how they are connected, because ultimately it is a single thread, correct? The single thread is only getting into this cumbersome arrangement and forming this kind of three-dimensional structure. So everything need to be connected with each other, and that is done by the loops. So in DNA, we don't have only the bases, we have the sugar phosphate backbone also. And immediately when we talk about sugar phosphate backbone, we have to think about how the bases are arranged, whether it is syn arrangement or anti arrangement. We have seen that in case of triple stranded helix. Do you remember? Correct? So what is the arrangement of the glycosidic bonds with respect to the bases in case of four stranded helix? So there can be two arrangement. One could be here, I am telling you. So in parallel quadruplex, so the two type of arrangements are possible. One is an anti arrangement where the base is at the anti configuration compared to the sugar, and another one is syn arrangement where both base and the sugar are on the same side. So this is, you see, it is a better arrangement because here there is no collision between these two entities. So these are actually more freer kind of configuration, when here you see that they are colliding. So this is called a syn arrangement and this is called anti arrangement. So there is an observation which tells that in all parallel quadruplex have all guanine residue, guanine glycosidic angle in anti configuration. So if it is parallel like this, all these glycosidic bonds are in anti-orientation. So this has been very well worked out and seen for these kind of structures. Whereas anti-parallel quadruplex have both syn and anti-guanine arranged in a way that is particular for a given topology and a given set of strand orientation. Since different topologies have four strands in different position relative to each other, we get many types of arrangements. Like these, some are syn and some are anti, but you see that we have various type of arrangement of orientations of the strands, even if they are anti-parallel. That is, this is also anti-parallel, and that is also anti-parallel. But there is certain difference between these two. Yet these two strands are parallel to each other and they are anti-parallel, and I think we have a name for that also. And here, 3 strands are running parallel, 1 is anti-parallel. So depending on the nature of the orientation of the nucleotide change, base can be either syn or anti. So, but one thing is very sure, that if it is parallel quadruplex, all of them will be, all of the glycosidic bond will be in the anti configuration. So, is it clear?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let's move forward. So next question, obviously it will come to your mind that when we discussed about double-stranded DNA, we discussed about major groove and minor groove, correct? So what is the nature of grooves in 4-stranded DNA? So if I draw a 4-stranded DNA, so a double-stranded DNA has 2 grooves, a major groove and minor groove. But in 4-stranded DNA, you have 4 grooves. See here, so all these sides are exposed to the environment. If you see the figure here, so these are the grooves where all bases are exposed to environment. There are 4 of them. 3 can be seen over here, and 1 is there on the other side. So now that just now we have seen that these arrangement of these 4 strands can be parallel or anti-parallel. So if they are parallel, it is observed that, so this is the tetramolecular quadruplex in presence of cation with parallel stranded right-handed helical structure. So if they are parallel and right, and obviously right-handed, we have seen they are right-handed, then all these groups are equivalent. If the all 4 strands runs parallel like this, then all the 4 groups are of equivalent shape. No one is major groove, no one is minor groove. All groups are identical. If that happens, but if that doesn't happen, what is going to happen? If it is anti-parallel, then you are in trouble. Then in case of anti-parallel, we have more than 2 types of groove. Here you see it is anti-parallel type, and you have one very narrow groove, and there is this one. There is a groove which is a little bit bigger than this one, and there is 2 grooves which is very wide. Okay, so depending on whether the strands are all parallel or anti-parallel, the nature of the groove depends. So here we are not getting minor grooves or major groove. If it is all parallel, all grooves are identical. If it is not all parallel, then we can get 3 types of grooves: a narrow groove, a medium groove, and a wider groove. Okay, clear? Okay, then we are going.
Yes.
We are going to the next topic. Okay, so still now we have concentrated on our discussion on the arrangement of the bases, arrangement of the strands, and how the grooves looks like. So we are now going to discuss about the stability. So just now what I told, that the stability of this structure, the key to the stability of this structure is this metal ion. Remember, when these structures are formed, you are creating enormous amount of single-stranded DNA. Why? Because they are forming by taking a single strand out from a complementary Watson-Crick base pair. So suppose there is a stretch of G residues over here, there is a C residues, we are peeling it off, and there you are forming this kind of 4-stranded structure. If it is intramolecular, even if it is intermolecular also, there are stretches of guanine residues which are cytosine residues complementary to it. We are peeling that off, taking these two together and forming this kind of a khichdi structure. Correct? So you are creating enormous amount of single-stranded DNA. So you are creating enormous amount of destabilization. To overcome that, you need a really, really strong force that will make this kind of structure possible, and only that kind of force can be given by ionic interaction. Why ionic interaction? Because the other option what you had is covalent interaction, and covalent interaction is very problematic. It is very stable. In case of ionic interaction, you can play around with it. You can modulate it by just by changing the hydration or water availability to the structure. You can make or break it by adding water, making the ionic bonds accessible to water. Immediately you make the ionic bonds accessible to water, those ionic bonds can break. But making and breaking covalent bond is even more difficult. You need an enzyme. So these structure are all based off ionic interaction, and I have already shown that this ion stays right at the middle hole of the structure. So this is the ion, and most of the cases these ions are singly positively charged ions. So what are the two main singly positively charged ions inside our cells?
Na and K.
Yes, sodium and potassium. Exactly, these two ions are involved in stabilization of the structures. So inside the canal you have the positive charge, and this N6 position double bond oxygen of these guanines. So they are all delta negative, correct? So there are lone pairs of electron, and they are partially negatively charged. So these partially negatively charged do a charge balance with this metal ion at the center, and that is how this electrostatic attraction develops, and it tightly holds these all 4 DNA strands together. So the strong negative electrostatic potential created by guanine O6 oxygen, which form a central channel of G tetrad stack with the cation located within that tunnel. Fine. So I have already shown you that. So these ions are in very strongly added to all the 4 guanines O6 oxygen by electrostatic attraction. It will look like this. So these are the three sheets of G quadruplex, and the ions stays like this. Fine, but there are certain variation in this organization of this ionic structure that I am going to discuss in the next slide. So the precise location of the cation between the tetrad depends on which ion we are talking about. So remember what we told, that both sodium and potassium can come and make this kind of structures. Now, with sodium ion within this channel being observed in range of geometries, in some structure a sodium ion is placed with the G tetrad, and some other structure between the two G tetrad. Means in some of the structure it is placed right at the center, and in some of the structure it is placed between the two sheets but right at the center. That is, suppose this is the sheet, in one of them right here, in another kind of structure this is one sheet and this is the next sheet, it is just at middle of these two sheets right at the center. Both way it is possible. So this is for sodium. For potassium, but always stays between the two sheets at the center. So this is the one sheet, this is the second sheet. In case of potassium, it is just between this sheet and this sheet in middle here. Okay, fine. But geometrically sodium potassium structure are identical generally. So if you take a G quadruplex that is stabilized by sodium, and a G quadruplex that is stabilized by potassium, structurally they look identical, but it is not the universal rule, because there are number of well-studied example was there where if we change the sodium to the potassium, there are profound structural change happens, implying that there are conformational flexibility of this structure involved in the G quadruplex. It is telling that in G quadruplex there are flexibility of various orientation of these strands. What is those flexibility? We are going to discuss in the next class if we have time. So those kind of parameter changes if we force the same structure to form G quadruplex, one time with sodium and one time with potassium. You can easily distinguish between them, that now this is forming with sodium and this is forming with potassium. But this is exceptional case. In general, those structures stabilized by sodium and potassium are identical. Correct? Okay. So now why we are interested in G quadruplex? Because we have seen them inside the cell. And not only we have seen them inside the cell, we know that due to the strong ionic interaction, these structures are very, very stable. So it is found that when NMR structural determination was done outside the cell, it was found that in NMR timing can be made bigger to see that whether the structures are stabilized for longer amount of time, something called time duration or some parameters they told, and in that time duration scale, it was found that these structures are stabilized up to microsecond level inside the solution. And not only that, these structures are even stable in gas phase. Remember, gas phase means a very high energy situation. In gas phase also, these structures remain stable so long as it is associated with that positively charged ions. And in the next class we are going to discuss about this structure inside the cell, like DNA sequence capable of G4 DNA in vitro. They are enriched in ribosomal DNA and in promoter region, in telomeres, in what is called, it is mitotic and meiotic double strand break repair sites. In all of these places, these structures are very important. In the next class we are going to discuss about telomeric DNA. So in that case, we are going to discuss about the physiological role of this structure. So this is all about G quadruplex, but there is one more quadruplex. So if I tell you G in a strand, automatically you have to think of the complementary strand, correct? What is the complementary strand? If it is poly G one strand, complementary strand is
C.
poly C, correct. Now, so when scientists were discussing about poly G, they thought that we are discussing about so much poly Gs, and nature is not very full that the other strand, which is also technically is poly C, there is a chance that they are also forming a quadruplex. But in case of C, there is a problem in forming quadruplex. What is the problem? Because it is
The structural incapability.
yes, pyrimidine. Pyrimidine has no two surfaces; it is just one surface. So initially they proposed that there might be a chance of forming a C quadruplex, but in that quadruplex, the bonding pattern will not be the same bonding pattern as G quadruplex, because C has no two surface for forming hydrogen bond. It has just one surface. But they realize that even if they are one surface, if we make one cytosine protonated like this, they can form a crisscross type of bond. This one with this one and this one with this one. And they found that it is forming like that in a test tube. So they are using the same side only. This C is bonding with this C, and this C is bonding with this C. So the structure will be like this. And what is the catch of this forming of this structure? That the catch is that one of the cytosine need to be protonated. If one cytosine is protonated, we can get a crisscross like a bond like this, and that also can form a fourth-stranded structure. So this structure is known as iDNA. Okay, but still it is in test tube. So scientists thought that it is in test tube so good. So what we do, we make again a compound that can recognize this kind of a structure, a chemical compound, and attach it with a fluorescent level, which can fluoresce. And again, as we did for the G quadruplex, inject them inside a cell which is active, that is, which is replicating, and look at the nucleus of the cell. So when they did that, what they found is this. So here there are three type of animal cells are taken: MCF7, U2O2, and HeLa, and these are the nucleus. So this compound name is IMAP that can specifically binds to the iDNA, and that has been attached to this kind of a kind of a fluorescent signal. And what you see here, look very carefully. So if there is no IMAP, there is no fluorescent signal. But whenever the IMAP is put, you see that there are spots coming. So you may tell that this IMAP has precipitated over here. People can argue that you have not made the dilution properly. When you added the reagent, it just got precipitated over there. So to rule out the fact, what the scientists have done, they applied DNAs into the cell. What DNAs will do? They will cut up the nuclear DNA. Cell will die, obviously, at later time point, but at this time point when the cell is not dead, you add DNA that will chew up the DNA. So all these quadruplex of that is iDNA that has been formed, that also are gone with the regular DNA, correct or not? So if there is a precipitation of the reagent, yeah.
Can you repeat it?
Okay. So first of all, these two are healthy cells.
Mm-hmm.
In one of them, the IMAP reagent was added, and immediately they saw this kind of fluorescent spots in the nucleus. But if the reagent is not added, there is no spots. So one possibility is that they are specifically binding to the iDNA inside the nucleus, the cytosine DNA quadruplex. But one group of people told that actually it is not like that. You have made the dilution of the reagent very poorly, so that the reagent got precipitated inside nucleus. So to rule out the fact, what the scientists have done, they have added DNAs with the IMAP solution. So when both are injected, what DNAs will do? It will cut away DNA, including the iDNA. So if there is no iDNA, there is no space for the IMAP to bind, correct? And exactly that happened. So when DNAs was added, there was no IMAP signal. And what that tells you? That tells you that yes, iDNA also is forming inside the cell, in the nucleus. Did you get my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so there is no time today, so we will start from telomerase in the next class, telomere in the next class, and how the DNA quadruplex helps in the stability of telomere, and then we go on discussing about the applications of this particular DNA quadruplex in nanomedicine and nanotechnology. Okay, then that's it for today. Any question?